Chapter 16, the chapter of the bee, containing 108 verses, written at Mecca. In the name of God, gracious and merciful, the chastisement of God is not far remote. Desire it not before its time. Praise be to God, he hath no companion. He causeth the angels to descend and sendeth his inspirations to whom it pleaseth him. Preach his power and the pains of hell to the misbelievers. There is no God but he, fear him. He created the earth and the heavens. He is more powerful than your idols and partners, and created man of the mire of the earth. Nevertheless, he is obstinate in his pride. He created clean beasts for your use. You draw from them great enjoyment and advantage to cloth and nourish yourselves. Ye see their beauty when they feed, and when they lead them to pasture, they bear the burden. And whatsoever ye will find, will send into cities, what ye cannot carry without them, but with exceeding great travail. God is gracious and merciful towards you. He created horses and mules and donkeys to bear you. He created many glorious things of which you have not knowledge. Now, other technology, of course, is implied in that, but isn't the word horse in that passage a reference to the best ride? He teacheth them the right way, who observe his commandments. Had it pleased him, he had guided all into the way of his law. He sendeth you water from heaven, which is not the same as the afterlife heaven, but to take away thirst, and causeth plants to bring forth, and trees that nourish your flocks. He maketh the olive trees to produce, the date trees, vines, and all sorts of fruits. These things are arguments of his unity to such as consider them. He created the night and the day, the sun and the moon and the stars that move at his pleasure. These things are signs of his omnipotency. To them that are wise, he created whatsoever is on earth of diverse colors, kind, and species. He created the sea, which affordeth you fish, pearls, and other precious stones to adorn you. Now seest how the ships sail upon the waters and divide the waves for the advantage of commerce. Peradventure you will give God thanks for his favors. He raised the mountains to make firm the earth and to hinder it to move. He created the rivers and established ways to guide you. He made the stars to conduct you by night upon the sea, and the mountains to direct you in your way by day. Who but he could have created what he hath made? Will you never consider it? It is not in your power to keep account of his mercies. He is altogether gracious and merciful, and knoweth the secret of your souls. The idols that ye adore can create nothing, but are things dead without motion, and know not in what time the world shall rise again. Your God is one sole God. Such as believe not in the end of the world, such as deny his unity and boast of their false belief, are abhorred of his divine majesty when they are interrogated concerning what God hath inspired to Muhammad. They answered that he preacheth fables of antiquity, but they shall bear their burthen at the day of judgment, who have seduced them from the right way, and have not known it. They that were before them were deceivers. God overthrew their habitations. The ruins fell upon them, and he chastised them when they least thought of it. He shall make them ashamed at the day of judgment, and shall demand of them, where be the idols, partners, for which they disputed against true believers, such as have knowledge of God's commandments, assure that shame shall be upon the foreheads of the misbelievers, and that the unfallen angels shall cause them to die because of the enormity of their sins. They will say at the hour of death that they believe in God and are penitent of their faults. God knoweth what they have done. He shall command them to enter into hell, where is the abode of the proud. He shall command them who shall have his fear before their eyes to enter into the house of eternity and the gardens of Eden, wherein flow many rivers. There they shall dwell eternally. With the height of their desire shall the wicked continue in their sin until the unfallen angels cause them to die, or until the day of judgment. And thus did their predecessors. God was not unjust towards them. They drew mischief on themselves through their iniquity. They were chastised and felt the punishment which they had despised. They have said, had it so pleased God our fathers, and we had adorned him alone, so spake their predecessors. The prophets adored him alone, so spake their predecessors. The prophets are not obliged but to preach and instruct the people. We sent a prophet to every nation to instruct it, and to command the worship of one sole God, and to quit the adoration of Tagut, the transgressive, and of idols. Is it superstition? Is that the word they're using? God guided some into the right way, and others were seduced. Consider what is the end of the wicked. If thou endeavorest to put them into the right path, thou shalt lose thy time. God guideth not them that desired error. They shall be deprived of protection at the day of judgment. They have sworn by their faith that God will not make the dead to rise again, but he shall cause them to rise again to chastise them according to his promises. But the greatest part of men do not know it. Didn't they know it, they would acknowledge their errors, and the impious would acknowledge their blasphemies. When we willed anything, we said, be thou when it was, and they that depart from the wicked for the love of the world, for the love of their Lord, and shall convert themselves, shall be rewarded this world, and yet more in the other. Rewarded. Shall be rewarded in this world, and yet more in the other. Had they knowledge to understand it, such as patiently endure the injuries of misbelievers, and trust in their Lord, shall be recompensed when they least think of it. We heretofore sent but men to preach our law, acts of them that have knowledge of the written law. If it be not true, we have sent to them Al-Quran, to the end that thou mayest instruct men in our commandments. Peradventure they will consider it. The earth shall produce nothing to them that shall conspire against the prophet. They shall be chastised when they least think of it. God shall afflict them in their commerce. They shall not escape the punishment, and their substance shall diminish by little and little before their eyes. God is gracious and merciful to them only that honor him. See they not the shadow of that which God hath created, sometimes at the right hand, sometimes at the left, to adore his divine majesty? They certainly are contemptible. Whatsoever is on the earth and in the heavens, beasts and angels, worship God with humility, fear their Lord, and obey his commandments. God hath commanded them to worship and to fear one God alone, to whom obedience is due eternally. Whom will ye fear but God? Who but God shall protect you when evil befalleth you? You have recourse to his divine goodness, being delivered. Some of you give him thanks, and yet believe not in his law. You seek only the riches of the earth, but you shall see what shall be your end. They say that their wealth proceedeth from their idols. By God, an account of their blasphemies shall be required of them. They affirm that God hath daughters. Assuredly they deceive themselves, and are not well satisfied when it is said to them that a daughter is born to them. They fly, such as declare to them the punishment of their sins. God shall leave them in ignominy, and they shall be contemned as the earth they trample under their feet, because they believe not in the day of judgment. Misery shall perpetually pursue them. God shall command forever, and be eternally powerful and victorious. Should God chastise men when they offend, he should leave no living creature upon the earth. He deferreth their punishment until the time appointed. They can neither advance nor retard it. They affirm God to have that which they themselves are not satisfied to have. They lie when they say that paradise is for them. Doubtless they are erroneous, and shall be precipitated into the fire of hell. By God, we have sent heretofore prophets to the people. The devil seduced men, and was master of the wicked in this world, but in the other they shall resent great torments. We have sent thee Al-Quran to clear to men the doubts touching religion and system of judgment, and to guide true believers into the right way. God sendeth rain from heaven to refresh the earth. This is an evident sign of his omnipotency to them that hear his word. Ye have yet a token of his omnipotency in the beasts that give you milk to nourish you, and another mark in the fruits of the earth, in the fruits of the date trees and the vines, from which you extract wine and other intoxicants, and receive profit. Well, you don't have to, but some people are going to take intoxicants from the plants. But that's different than the good. These things are signs of his omnipotency to such as comprehend them. The Lord inspired the bee to dwell in the fields, to lodge in the trees and hives, and to eat of all sorts of fruits. It produceth honey of diverse colors, that serve for remedy to the diseases of men. These things are signs of God's omnipotency, to cause them to consider them. God hath created you, and shall cause you to die. There be persons among you that shall be full of ignominy in their life, to the end that they may understand that God is omnipotent, conferreth benefits on some more than on others. Slaves have no part in the faculties of their masters, neither are they associated with them. Nevertheless, they associate to God another God equal to him, and blaspheme against his grace. God hath created you men and women, and hath given you children and children to your children. He hath enriched you with the riches of the earth. Will you, after this grace, believe in your idols and partners? Otherwise, they attribute to God, which are things inanimate, vain, and unprofitable. Will ye be ungrateful for the benefits of God? Will ye worship what can neither benefit nor hurt you? Believe not that there is another God companion and associate with God. He knoweth what you know not. He teacheth you a parable. A slave that is poor cannot give alms, and he who is rich giveth alms secretly and publicly, as he seeth good. Are they both alike? Ought they to be put in parallel? Praise be to God, certainly the greatest part of men, humanity. We're using gender neutral. No, not as graces. He teacheth you a parable. Behold, two men, the one was born deaf and dumb, and given in charge to his guardian. He knoweth not how to employ him. He is capable neither of doing nor speaking well. Is he like to him that speaketh and understandeth, teacheth men justice, and followeth the right way? Whatsoever is in heaven or on earth appertaineth to God. When he commandeth anything, it is performed in the twinkling of an eye. Yea, sooner he is omnipotent. He it is that causeth you to come out of the womb of your mother, that giveth you hearing, sight, and sense. Perhaps ye will return him thanks. See ye not the birds that fly in the air, who sustaineth them but God? It is an evident sign of his omnipotency for the true believers. He hath given you houses to inhabit it, the skins and furs of beasts to cover you. He hath given you their hair and wool to furnish your houses and enrich you. He created trees and clouds to overshadow you, and made the mountains and caves to cover you from rain, created garments to defend you from the heat of the sun and the rigor of cold. He hath accomplished his grace upon you. Peradventure you will resign yourselves to the will of his divine majesty and profess his unity, if the misbelievers depart from the way of the law. Well, unbelievers, they might still believe something in that case, but God, thou art obliged only to preach to them intelligibly. They know the grace of God and contemn it, for that the greatest part of them are impious. Preach unto them the day wherein I will raise again all the nations of the world, and the prophets and apostles who have preached to them my commandments. There shall be no excuse for misbelievers, neither shall they find protection or relaxation of their miseries. When they shall behold their idols, they shall confess that they were misled. They shall understand the unity of thy Lord, and that their idols, partners, are not able to intercede for them. God hath added to the punishment of the misbelievers. He hath sent them evil upon evil. Well, negative or bad against bad. It's not that God was doing evil. English has a weird way of speaking there. Because they hindered the world to follow his law, preach unto them the day wherein I will cause to rise again all the nations of the world, with the prophet who preached to them to be witnesses of their actions. I will be a witness against them of thy nation. I have sent thee the book that unfoldeth the mysteries of my law, to guide the people into the right way, and to declare the joys of paradise to such as profess my unity. God commandeth you to do only that which is reasonable. He commandeth you to give alms and to do good unto your parents. He forbiddeth whoredom, disobedience, and injustice, enjoineth you to do good. Perhaps you will consider it. Perform what ye have promised to God. Break not promised faith. Ye call God to be witness of your promises. He knoweth all your actions. Do not like the woman who spun the thread, folded it, and afterwards entangled and spoiled it. Believe not that there is deceit and error in your law. If the misbelievers be more in number than you, God permitteth it to prove you. He shall clear to you at the day of judgment the doubts that be among you. Had it so pleased him, you all had observed one and the same law. He guideth, and there's not. There are those that aren't taking in the guidance. And there are those who aren't taking in the guidance, of whom it pleaseth him, and will exactly require of you an account of your actions. Believe not that there is deceit in your law. Take heed of stumbling. Having once confirmed your steps, ye shall be severely chastised. If ye seduce the people from the right way, do not violate what ye have promised to God for any price. His grace is of more advantage to you than the wealth of the earth. Had ye knowledge to understand it, your wealth is perishable, and the riches of heaven are eternal. Well, the paradise hereafter. He shall recompense them that persevere in well-doing, and whosoever shall do good works shall be blessed in this world and in the other. When thou shalt read Al-Quran, implore God to deliver thee from the malice of the devil, abominable to all creatures. He hath no power over them that trust in his divine majesty. His power extendeth over such as go astray, who obey not him, and adore many as if they're gods. When we alter any precepts, God well knoweth what he ordaineth. They say, thou art a liar, that the greatest part of them are ignorant. Say unto them that assuredly the Holy Ghost hath taught it from thy Lord, to confirm believers in their faith, and to guide into the right way them that profess his unity, and to announce to them the joys of paradise. I know that they will say that a man hath taught him Al-Quran. He whom they presume to have taught him is a Persian by nation, and speaketh the language of the Persians, and Al-Quran is in the Arabic tongue, full of instruction and eloquence. They who will not believe in God shall suffer great torments, such as renounce his commandments, blaspheme against his divine majesty. Those that reject his law, after having professed it, shall feel the effect of his wrath, and be punished for preferring the wealth of the earth to the riches of heaven. God guideth not the unbelievers. Well, it's you know, they're not taking in the guidance of God. God guides them, but they're not accepting it, is what the language says. I don't know why they phrase it that way, because it's going to create that problem. They in whose hearts he hath imprinted disobedience, those whom he hath deprived of hearing and sight, are ignorant. They doubtless shall be at the end of the world in the number of the damned. He is merciful to them that convert and repent, and have misled the people from the right way, and persevere in obedience to his commandments. Be thou mindful of they wherein man shall dispute against himself, and everyone shall be rewarded according to his works without injustice. God teacheth you a parable. Behold, a free and privileged city, on the which God poureth his graces from all sides with abundance, and is ungrateful for his benefits, but he sent upon it misery, famine, and fear. Because of its ingratitude, God hath sent to the inhabitants thereof a prophet of their nation. They have slandered him, and were chastised because of their sin. Eat what God hath given you, and give him thanks for his grace. If it be he whom ye worship, he forbiddeth you to eat of carrion, of blood, and swine's flesh, and other scavenging, meat-eating animals, the claws, the talons. Khanzir is the very dirty, very foul. It's not just swine. And whatsoever is not slain in pronouncing the name of God, he will be gracious and merciful to them. Who shall eat through necessity, without design to offend him? Lie not in saying, behold, that which is permitted to be eaten. Blaspheme not against God. Such as blaspheme against him shall not prosper in this world, and in the other shall suffer grievous torments. We did heretofore prohibit the Jews to eat of what we have recounted to thee. We did to them no injustice. They drew mischief on themselves through their sin. Thy Lord is gracious and merciful to them that ignorantly offend him, who convert and do good works. Abraham was obedient to God and professed his unity. He adored not idols or other partners, and gave thanks to God for his mercies. God elected and guided him into the right way. He gave him wealth in this world and placed him in the other. In the number of the blessed, we have inspired thee to follow the law of Abraham. He professed the unity of God and adored not idols or other partners. He established the Sabbath among the Jews, which they dispute. God shall judge their difference at the day of judgment. Call the people to the law of God with prudence, and preachings and dispute against them with good arguments. God knoweth them that depart from the right way. If they evilly entreat you, entreat them as they shall entreat you. If ye be patient, patience is advantageous to them that take it willingly. Have patience for the love of God, and afflict not yourselves with the deportments and malice of the wicked. God is with the righteous, who have his fear before their eyes. And so we see that sometimes there is something real behind us, what people regard as these various gods and goddesses, but they have attributed this matter ability that is just not there. They've taken others that are real beings, but that do have a spiritual existence, not just a material thing. They've taken these, but these have no partnership in God either. And we have our own responsibility to actualize the various teachings. We're given all these examples of what we're to do, what we're supposed to do and not do, and how to become of a certain character. But it's for us to do these things.